Welcome to This Week in History. I'm Tyler Boeh, and here's all the late-breaking news from the olden times. November 2nd. In 1775, Marie Antoinette was born. She was the last queen of France prior to the French Revolution, and she was seen as a symbol of everything that was wrong with the system of monarchy. She was attributed with callously responding to her starving citizens with the infamous quote, "Let them eat cake." Although today is her birthday, so go for it. In 1776, William Demont deserted the 5th Pennsylvania Battalion, becoming the first traitor of the American Revolution, although technically America was the first traitor of the American Revolution. In 1865, 29th U.S. President Warren G. Harding was born. His administration was marked by a bribery scandal, and both his life and his term in office were cut short by a heart attack. He's generally regarded as one of the worst presidents in the United States. And I'll tell you one way that I know that he wasn't a great leader is that Warren G. Harding was President of the United States, and still, somehow, not even the most famous Warren G. In 1947, Howard Hughes' H-4 Hercules, better known as the Spruce Goose, made its first and only flight. The flight was just over 1 mile, and it was in the air for approximately 1 minute, just long enough for Hughes to down a bottle of codeine and wash his hands 3 times. There was a lot of confusion around the project because it was called the Spruce Goose, but it was made almost entirely from birch, and it was called a flying boat, although it was clearly an airplane, and it was called a technological marvel, although it was an utter failure. In 1983, President Ronald Reagan signed the bill establishing the Martin Luther King Jr. holiday as the 3rd Monday in January, although by the time January rolled around, he had to be reminded that he had created the holiday. In 1989, Princeton, New Jersey resident Carmen Fasanella set an unofficial record when he retired from being a cab driver after 68 years and 243 days on the job. Upon retiring, Carmen fulfilled his lifelong dream of riding in the passenger seat of a car. November 3rd. In 1839, the First Opium War broke out between Britain and China. The war wasn't terribly hostile because everybody was just so darn sleepy. In 1952, frozen bread was sold for the first time in supermarkets. And it was the greatest thing since unfrozen bread. In 1998, Bob Kane, the creator of Batman, died. For comic book fans everywhere, it was a dark night. Although real comic book fans know that Bob Kane was not the creator of Batman, he was created by a petty criminal named Joe Chill. November 4th. In 1846, Benjamin Palmer was granted a patent for the artificial leg. Prior to his work, people had simply been using crutches or a peg leg in place of a missing limb. Now, his invention wasn't a perfect prosthesis, but it was a huge step in the right direction. In 1942, ophthalmologist and inventor Dr. Patricia Bath was born. She holds 5 patents for her inventions and was the first black woman in the U.S. to receive a patent for a medical device. She made huge progress in the field of laser eye surgery. Now, I should stress that looking into an incredibly intense beam of light can cause severe eye damage. Unless, of course, you have eye damage and there's a doctor shining an incredibly intense beam of light into your eye, in which case it's the solution. In 1961, actor Ralph Macchio was born. Before he was the Karate Kid, he was just a little karate baby. November 5th. In 1605, the gunpowder plot led by Guy Fawkes and a group of would-be assassins was prevented when Fawkes was captured before he was able to blow up the British House of Lords, killing Parliament and King James I. For his crime of treason, Fawkes was arrested and set to be hung, drawn, and quartered, but on his climb up to the gallows, he either tripped or jumped, fell, broke his neck, and died. So in a way, even his execution was a bit of a failure. It's like, that guy can't catch a break. Now, in remembrance of this failed plot, the British celebrate annually on November 5th, with bonfires and fireworks on what is now known as Guy Fawkes Night. And this is such a foreign concept to us in the United States. I mean, there's only a small group of Americans that actually celebrate failure. The rest of us are too busy celebrating mediocrity. In 1884, a grizzly bear underwent a successful cataract surgery at the Zoological Garden in California. The bear was thrilled with the surgery because he'd been having trouble reading and driving at night. In 1913, actress Vivien Leigh was born. She was immediately wrapped up and swaddled in a set of green drapes. In 1940, President Franklin Delano Roosevelt was elected to his 3rd term in office. It was unprecedented that he was not unprecedented. November 6th. In 1854, John Philip Sousa was born. For some reason I always thought he was born in March. In 1861, Jefferson Davis was elected as President of the Confederated States. Now, he was technically elected to a 6-year term, but he only served 4 because he was defeated by his political opponent, the United States of America. In 1928, Jacob Schick patented the electric razor, making it possible for you to cut yourself and electrocute yourself at the same time. In 1935, electrical engineer Edwin Armstrong announced his new development of FM radio. Of course, he made this announcement on AM radio, November 7th. In 1867, Marie Sklodowska-Curie was born. She was a Polish-born French scientist specializing in physics and chemistry, and she conducted pioneering research in the field of radioactivity. How pioneering? She actually coined the term radioactivity. She was the first woman to receive the Nobel Prize, and the first person and only woman in history to win the prize twice. And she did it in 2 different fields. She won her first Nobel Prize in 1903 in the field of physics, and her second in the field of chemistry in 1911, when she was credited with discovering 2 elements, polonium and radium. When she received her prizes, she was absolutely glowing. Not with pride. I mean, she was like literally glowing. She died in 1934 at the age of 66 from aplastic anemia caused by, you guessed it, exposure to radiation. She dealt with half-life her whole life, and although she had a short life, she led a very full life. In 1874, the Republican Party was first symbolized as an elephant in a cartoon by the famous artist Thomas Nast. The elephant stood as a proud symbol of the GOP up until 2016, when it was replaced by a weasel. In 1876, Albert Hook patented the cigarette manufacturing machine. They say necessity is the mother of invention, but in this case, I'm thinking maybe it was addiction. In 1965, the Pillsbury Doughboy made his television debut. After 55 years, both the ad campaign and the Doughboy have gotten incredibly stale. November 8th. In 1889, Montana became the 41st state in the Union. The abbreviation for Montana is MT, pronounced empty. In 1956, after turning down 6,000 possible names for their new line of cars, Ford Motor Company decided to launch its new line under the name of Henry Ford's only son, Edsel. It's hard to believe that they considered 6,000 choices, but it's even harder to believe that Henry Ford's first choice was Edsel. That's it for this week in history. Thanks for watching, and as long as people keep making history, I'll keep making videos about it, so keep coming back.